You guys, of course, already know from the title, but today we're making Zoey from K-Pop Demon Hunters into a full-size doll. First things first, we need to clean off and cure some of the more detailed pieces, which I printed out of resin. If you want to see more of the behind the scenes of how I actually sculpted Zoey, make sure you go back and give this video a watch. Here's all the pieces that I've printed so far, and now we can go ahead and paint her the right skin tone. Fast forwarding a bit, I painted most of those boring pieces the correct shade, so now let's go ahead and focus on the fun part, which is the face. For this step, I make sure to water down the paint so that her skin is as smooth as possible. I'm also using a very soft and old brush to help out with the smoothing part. You might be able to already tell at this point, but this brush has been through a lot, and it was actually one of the brushes my mom had when she was in high school. It took about 3 or 4 coats to get the paint completely opaque. I'm going in with pink, purple, and a bit of red to give her those first few layers of her eyeshadow and a bit of blush around her cheeks. Just like with Mira, I'm keeping the blush pretty simple to stay close to the style of the movie. Mr. Super Clear is not the easiest stuff to get, so I try to use as few layers as possible, at least toward the beginning of the face. Right now I'm actually working straight on top of dried paint, which some people may freak out about, but that's why I'm so specific about which brush I use to paint the face. The brush pretty much leaves no brush strokes, especially when it's paired with very watered down paint. I'm using a kneaded eraser to clean up the overflow of pigment and make sure I get that sharp eyeshadow wing. It's subtle, but I also do a slight fade between pink and purple towards the inner part of the eye. Once the color stops building, I do the first layer of MSC. Like I mentioned before, I go pretty light-handed with the first few layers of MSC, but at the end I go in pretty heavy-handed to make sure I protect those delicate paints like the gouache I'm using here. I want to make sure everything becomes waterproof. This part is pretty self-explanatory, plus I had to do most of it off camera because breathing is absolutely not allowed. I use a white pencil and some white paint to add some cartoony highlights on the lips, the eyebrows, the nose, and the inner part of the eyes. I make the actual eyeballs, which were very similar to the ones that you're looking at now. These didn't work. Just don't ask, they just didn't work. But the process was pretty much still the same, so I'm showing the ones that I messed up here. Like you saw before, I painted everything the right color, but off camera I added felt in between some of the more intense joints and gave everything a layer of varnish to add a bit more protection. The varnish I use refuses to be matte no matter how much I beg, so we're just going to ignore that shine until later when I spray the entire body with MSC to slap that shine away. So to string the body but still allow the shoes to be removable, I put this bar in the bottom part of the leg so the elastic still has something to be tied to. Like I said in my last video, this is kind of hard to explain, but hopefully since you're seeing what I'm doing now, you can kind of see how this works. The gap here is pretty small, so I use a needle to help me thread through the elastic. Then I can pretty much string the rest of the body together like normal. By the way, this doll will be listed on my Etsy shop, so if you think you might be interested in bringing little Zoey into your own home, check out the link in the description and the pinned comment. The last step here is to pull and tie that elastic as hard as I can to make sure everything is tight and secure. And while I'm showing you how this doll is put together, I might as well show you how the head works. The front of the head is held on by the elastic that's connected to the neck, and the back of the head stays on with the help of some magnets. The hair is a messy process from beginning to end, like with every other doll. I used wood glue and some mesh fabric to make the base of the wig. You all know the drill by now. Once it's dry, I take it off and get rid of the excess. Also, I did do 3 layers of wood glue this time, which makes the wig a lot easier to work with later. the hair itself, I'm going to use yarn. I'm specifically using a chunky yarn so the harvesting of this hair doesn't require holes torn in my clothes and my fingers and hands feeling like sandpaper. The yarn is cut into strips and then unraveled. After that, I pull both ends of the hank until I can't anymore and put them to the side for the next step. To get the very cute groups of curly hair nice and straight for Zoey's hairstyle, I'm using my mini flat iron, but you can also do this with a regular clothing iron on a high setting. This process again is very messy and the hair sheds everywhere for a while, but it's worth it because yarn is super easy to style. Before we can get to the fun part though, we have to glue all of this on the head. I sketch out where I want the parts to go, so on those lines I glue the hair in the wrong direction, then flip it over to form half of the part. For styling, it's pretty much the same process as on a human-sized head, only the doll is stuck between my knees while I'm styling her. I'm pulling back the hair into 2 ponytails, then braid them so I can wrap that braid around itself to make the buns. I styled the rest of the hair with some water and some hair mousse, and this is how it turned out. Just like with Little Miss Mira, it became very obvious very fast that whoever designed Zoey's outfit did not take in consideration that someone was going to make this on a very small scale. So we had to make some stuff up as we went, but basically this is what I did. First off, for the pants, I used this blue cotton fabric, which I got of course from my mom's stash, and cut out a very oversized baggy pant pattern. To make the pattern that's on the pants, I'm going to be using several little pieces of iron-on vinyl. This process wasn't super scientific, I just kind of eyeballed it and made it up as I went. Of course, getting it as accurate to the picture as I could. I did end up using a Cricut for the flower though, because I was not going to cut that out by hand. I take one piece at a time and iron it on to the spot where I think it needs to be. When I'm done with both sides of the pants, I sketch out where those yellow stitch details need to be with a white pencil. Then with the sewing machine, I stitch those yellow lines everywhere. I actually thought this part was going to take a while, but it wasn't that bad. For the little teal loops, I made some strips out of some fabric I actually found at the dollar store. Then I looped the fabric through the little closure thingamabobskis, which I 3D printed out of resin. I do the same thing for the belt on the shirt, which you'll see how that turned out in a minute. For the main part of the shirt, I used the masking tape method to get the pieces that I need, then cut those pieces out of the same teal fabric from before. It kind of skips around a bit here because again, making this stuff up as I went, but once I had the base shirt done, I made the zipper with a black strip of fabric and a little piece of iron-on vinyl. I did the same thing for the pockets, but obviously instead of black fabric, I used the teal. For the little flower on the side of the shirt, I drew it out as best as I could in Procreate and then printed it out on some more iron-on stuff. You'll see how that turned out in a little bit, but for now let's finish up the details. I 3D printed her weapons out of resin and then painted them in the same way I did for Mira's. Then I make the tassels that go with them out of yellow thread. I had to make 3 of these tassels this time because I needed another one for the little dangling detail on the side of her pants. Her twist-on shoes are slightly different from the actual shoes in the movie because I used a Jordan keychain to make them, but I painted them so that they match as closely as possible anyway. I don't want to take this, I don't want to break this. We're living in the moment. Once I string on her arms and hands, it's time to see how she turned out.
We're getting older, baby, it's you and I. Yeah, we're stars in the sky. Oh, you and I. Yeah, we're stars in the sky.
you all enjoyed seeing my process for how I made Zoey. And if you happen to miss me making Mira, check out this video here. And don't forget to check out the Etsy shop linked below so you can possibly snag this one-of-a-kind doll for yourself. Like always, thank you for watching, stay sweet, and I'll see you in the next video.
I know you'll follow me.